I'm bad, y'all.
Hello, and welcome to the Lost Confederacy channel. This is week 1 of the 13-week fiscal program of recovery for American prisoners of war. And this is week 1 of the first fiscal quarter of the year. So definitely a round of applause to the viewer, as well as to the chiefs on the channel, for staying disciplined and consistent. Here, as always, we focus more so on that first letter in the acronym APOW, which is American. Today, you have myself, Chief Biko, as well as Chief Alligator and Chief Quietwater. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with this week's American inventor. So for this week's American inventor, we have Mr. Paul R. Williams. He was born in February 1894, February 18th, 1894, passed away January 23rd, 1890. And he is credited for the useful helicopter. And emphasis on that word useful, because he was able to make it more efficient, run more efficient without having any type of issues with like vibration. So if we go down here, he kind of explains or goes into detail about that, about how the old rotors that were being used would cause a lot of friction, which just make the whole ride uncomfortable. So he was able to actually decrease that to basically almost 0% to make the helicopter fly much more smoothly. And this is Paul R. Williams, and just kind of show a little bit of the designs here. So this is just one of the figures. And that patent number is 3065933. So that's 3065933. And it was filed May 20th, 1960. Let me see when it was actually granted. It was actually granted and approved on November 27th, 1962. So we just go through here. Again, just more figures of how he improved the rotors just to make the helicopter fly more smoothly and efficiently. So again, just another American inventor. We can have an American inventor pretty much each day of the year if we wanted to, but we're giving one each week, someone different, someone, that's contributed to this country's success. And again, just showing our creativity and our ingenuity. Go ahead and get out of here. And next, we will go ahead and have Chief Alligator. Were you doing the quote this week, or was that you, Chief Quietwater?
Chief Alligator.
Chief Alligator, okay, perfect. Go ahead and share my screen.
I believe it's number, the last one. No, can you scroll up a little bit? Keep going up. Here we go. Number 9. Okay. We honor every week Dr. Carter G. Woodson. He is the founder and the creator of what we know as Black History Month. So that's why we stay in order and alignment, and we honor him each week by doing a quote from him from his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. I'm gonna do quote 9 today. Negroes must become like English gentlemen who study the law of the land, not because they intend to practice the profession, but because every gentleman should know the law. In the interpretation of the law by the courts, too, all the rights of the Negroes in this country are involved, and a large number of us must qualify for this important service. We may have too many lawyers of the wrong kind, but we have not our share of the right kind. And that quote is important as we start off this new fiscal calendar year in 2023. In order to navigate through society, I've learned from my own travels in life that once I started understanding law, then I started practicing it in my personal life, with my personal affairs, with my child. And then what happens is you get to a point where you start creating your own laws, your own procedures, your own different. So it's a process that we all have to go through. We as a group of people, we have to get to the point where we create our own laws. We have our own culture and our own traditions, just like Jewish people, Asian people, all other different groups of people. They have their customs that they go by. There's too many educated in our group for us not to create our own standards at this point. We need our own operating procedures. This is the year where it's time for us to stand up.
I definitely agree with that for sure.
That's definitely great quote for this this week and to pop off the new year. Next, we'll go ahead and have Chief Quietwater with this week's with the legal definitions as well as maroon historical points.
Okay, so I'll start with the legal definitions. Number 1, American, indigenous to America. Number 2, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either lineally or collaterally. Number 3, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Number 4, prisoner of war, a person, usually a soldier, who is captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Number 5, school, an institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline. 6, education, an enlightening experience. 7, recovery, a return to a normal state of health, mind, or strength, the action or process of regaining possession of something stolen or lost. And the maroon historical points, number 1 was a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number 2, providing unity and a strong defense came first. Number 3, maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number 4, maroons established guerrilla warfare, planted sharp sticks in thick grass. Number 5, maroons knew their European enemies' language, defenses, and plans.
Thank you, Chief Quietwater. And just before we jump back into 1964 Civil Rights Act, definitely just want to kind of summarize, how we kind of pretty much led up or got to this point in history. We still haven't seen anything in which we become a part of this government. Throughout all of the documents we read, whether it's from the 1865 Civil Rights Act, whether it's from the Emancipation Proclamation, from the amendments, none of those things are specific to our group of people in regards to being a part of this government. So as we continue to read through these documents, definitely need to have that in the back of their mind as the viewer as well as ourselves to make sure we're in alignment, because we're still trying to find an entry point into this actual government. Thus far, when we read through the 1957 Civil Rights Act, didn't see anything specific to the Negro, the colored, any other reclassification name that, was put on us. We saw what the Jim Crow laws had. They were very specific in regards to who they were targeting, with it being, Negroes and colored. But when it comes to the actual acts that are supposed to be eliminating these Jim Crow laws, they were not specific at all. Very broad terms. Again, the use of civil, who was civil. Silver wasn't, in those Jim Crow laws. Silver wasn't getting beaten, killed, hung in, public town squares, things of that nature. So again, we just have to continue to, keep that in the back of our mind. Where is our entry point into this government? And we have not seen that thus far. Any thoughts on that from the chiefs before we kind of jump into it?
For me, I think it's important for us to not try to include ourselves into the mess that's already here, and want to be inclusive with all the narratives that float around, and kind of just try to fit in. And just to piggyback off of what Chief Alligator said in regards to creating our own laws and getting to a point where we can come together and start creating, so that we can be the dictators of our narrative moving forward. So I think that was a good thing that he mentioned. We have to start creating our own in order to get any kind of forward movement with our group of people.
Good point.
The only thing I would say or add to what you built on, Chief Biko and Chief Quietwater, is as we move forward through this Voting Rights Act and we get into the other act that took place in the 1960s, continue to stand on the edge of the coin if you're a part of our lineage. Don't give anybody a pass. What we're realizing is we're not seeing certain language in government documents, but TV and organizations promoted certain terms to make this group of people think and believe
Right.
that we were this in the 60s and 70s. So as we move forward, let's just don't go heads, don't go tails. Stand on the edge and look at everybody, and the truth is going to be unbelievable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this 1964 Civil Rights Act. And last week we left off right before Title VII. So I'll go ahead and pick up here. Title VII, non-discrimination in federally assisted programs. So Section 601, no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participating in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Definitely want to pause on that and actually, sit in what that says, because basically what this is saying that if you aren't being federally funded, you can discriminate. Point blank, period. If you are receiving federal financial assistance, i.e. public schools, any type of public parks, things of that nature, they're saying it cannot be discriminated upon via your race, color, or national origin. But if it's a private one, basically meaning it's not being federally funded, you can do what you want. You're an owner. You're not getting assistance from the government. So that's definitely something that stood out to me. Anybody want to build on that?
Which is another reason why we need to have private organizations for us, that benefits us only, specifically for us, and not have to depend on the federal government for financial assistance.
Let's go a little deeper with that. When you just read that, I thought about my family and all my relatives that fought in World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. It clearly tells you in Section 601, if we weren't a part, if we weren't citizens of this government, that means you didn't get a GI Bill. Isn't that a federal program?
Right.
Social Security, right?
Mm.
So we got to look at that part of it. So you could actually go to war for this government during the Korean War, the World War I, World War II, and you come home, you didn't get a GI Bill.
Mm.
Yeah, they're saying that they're going to stop that in 1964. No person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation and be denied the benefits. So prior to that, you were denied.
Wow.
And they never righted that wrong, is what we're saying as a group of people. You integrated us, but you never righted that wrong for those family members in our bloodline, in our lineage, that did fight and could not get a house free of charge that the European was getting. I just wanted to add that in.
No, great point. Great point.
Yeah, that is a good point.
And it just goes full circle back to the point being made prior to even jumping back into the document. Where's our entry point? Like you stated, if we were a part of this government, then where are those, GI Bills, Social Security, any type of assistance that would be given to the family of, the deceased after coming from war? Where are those things? Like you stated, they're not there. And there hasn't been any restitution for those families that had their family members go off to these wars and then come back to absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all.
It's a great point. Great point. I'll continue here. Section 602, each federal department and agency which is empowered to extend federal financial assistance to any program or activity by way of grant, loan, or contract other than a contract of insurance or guarantee is authorized and directed to effectuate the provisions of Section 601 with respect to such program or activity by issuing rules, regulations, or orders of general applicability which shall be consistent with achievement of the objectives of the statute, authorizing the financial assistance in connection with which the action is taken. So here, it sounds like they're including any type of grant, loans, or any contract, as long as it's not one of insurance, to pretty much just compound on what was said in section 1 here in regards to any type of federal assistance. Again, whether it be grant, loan, or any other type of contract, is still going to be held to that standard. But again, if you are a privately funded organization, program, whatever it may be, you're still able to discriminate. And again, like Chief Alligator stated, even with these federal assistance programs, our people were still left out to dry.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about basically our ancestors was getting it out the mud. I was having a family conversation with a family member, and everybody, as you get to know your family, what we came to figure out was our family wasn't paying taxes on land until the 1980s.
Oh, wow.
And this makes sense. You were not a part of the federal government. So back at y'all families, y'all, you're probably going to, right, if you're not a citizen, then that means your granddaddy wasn't paying taxes to the federal government.
Great point.
So we're right where the European was when he rebelled against Great Britain. No taxation without representation. You're taxing us, but you won't specifically represent us. So that's where the boycott comes in. Stop participating in it. They're taxing your fiat, but they're not specifically doing anything for you. But that's something I learned over the weekend, just chopping up history with a family member. When they dropped that dime on me, that taxes didn't start into the 1980s. And that's when my great grandmother passed. And I was like, that makes sense, because y'all weren't made citizens until 1964 through the Voting Rights Act. That's when desegregation stopped. So shout out to what we're doing, because we really got the wrong idea about who we were in the 60s, 50s, 40s, and 30s. When they show on TV all of these things that were going on, we were not a part of that shit.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, I mean, shoot, everything just in alignment. Like I said, it's just going back to even to the Dr. Carter G. Woodson quote, with us just being lawyers of the right kind, like knowing this information, and it'll make sense, being, understanding this history, not to be able to just regurgitate something, but actually to understand and move forward.
Exactly.
Like you said, we understand what the Europeans rebelled against their parents when it came to Britain, because no taxation without representation. Now we find ourselves in the same predicament with our foster parents, known as the United States government. So it's
oh, no. I'm not cutting you off, Chibico, but Original Coppers just dropped something similar to what I just said, that they waited till her great grandma died. So again, y'all, that's why them first 3 steps, go back to your family first and start looking at what happened. And it's going, because my family member didn't even know. I had to remind her, and she graduated high school in the 60s. I had to remind her, you weren't a citizen of the government. And she looked at me, she paused and was like, it's like a teaching moment for that generation. My mom and my aunts and uncles and my mom, like, they really don't get what was going on in the 60s. I'm gonna stop right there.
No, that's an excellent point. And appreciate you there, Copper Empress, for dropping that, because again, it's like, like you said, we find do our own, family history. Pretty much we're gonna find the same patterns. And like you said, wait till that actual family member who owned that land passed. Now we already have the children, because now they have the birth certificates, now they have the social security numbers. So now you're a part of this government. So now we can tax you since you inherited that land. So it's like, damn. Yeah, so we definitely got to, again, understand this, that way we can get our way, work our way out of this system. So, because that's
and even now, just bringing it forward, gentrification, we're in our neighborhoods and we're seeing it happen right before our eyes. And then we turn back and look like, wow, they bought us out, basically. We put a dollar amount on grandma's house and grandma's land, in regards to being priced out of your own neighborhood. So my thing is, when someone passes along, do your best to keep that property in the family and keep the land in the family so that it can continue to go on, and don't just, we allow them to come in. We give them permission to come in and give us pennies on the dollars, and then they turn around and that property triples and quadruples, right? And it doesn't happen like this. It happened in phases. So again, we have to be aware of what's going on right in front of our face, because it doesn't just happen overnight, basically.
That's a great point. It's a great point. I'll continue here. No such rule, regulation, or order shall become effective unless and until approved by the president. Compliance with any requirement adopted pursuant to this section may be effected, one, by determination of or refusal to grant or to continue assistance under such program or activity to any recipient as to whom there has been an express finding of the record after opportunity for hearing or of a failure to comply with such requirement, but such termination or refusal shall be limited to the particular political entity or part thereof or other recipient as to whom such a finding has been made, and shall be limited in its effect to the particular program or part thereof in which such non-compliance has been so found. All right. So it sounds here as non-compliance means the end of any federal assistance. Is what I'm getting from that last section there, that last endpoint.
And remember, in the Jim Crow South, this really wasn't happening in the 60s and 70s. You know what I'm saying? And it really puts a perspective on the Ku Klux Klan during that time, when they would come in and realize that, oh, look at this family that got all this land that we haven't been getting taxes from through that county, right? So it makes sense that they would hang whoever. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, the Jewish media would paint the Ku Klux Klan as the boogeyman, but really they were strategic in who they were hanging within towns, right? That owned, or I think, is it Forsyth County in Georgia, and then Lakeland talked about this. We don't know the natural resources that they found out was in those towns, in that land. And so then they run us out of those towns, burn down everything. Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? And then you never amended for that.
Right.
So we really got to look at this and look at what they're doing. As long as they can keep us distracted off what they've done, they never have to pay for it. And that's just not natural law. You have to reap what you sowed.
Correct.
And like you said, I think that we are distracted and we don't know. We don't know this information. So that's what makes it even worse. You know, we have to wake up. That's the thing.
Yeah. Even some going back to what Chief Akibalon dropped earlier offline, just with the Asogi tribe. Same thing, you know, how they mysteriously became missing, yet all the land that they had, you know, created generational wealth for these Europeans. So just another example of that. And then how you said the Ku Klux Klan was basically like a hit squad, basically a hit squad that was contracted. Again, we already broke down the military occupation, militia districts, et cetera. So if they could be like, hey, we got these group of Americans, they sitting on this much land, we found out through surveying, hell, they sitting on some resources. We need that person killed. Everybody? Yeah. Hold on, I think the child just got they just had a child, they got a birth certificate. All right, they may be able to live. We can still get whatever we want from them. So, you know, calls like that, it's not far-fetched to see that those type of calls are being made. Like you said, people were being strategically targeted during the time. You know, he wasn't just having, of course, he was having random killings, but a lot of it was strategic. We have to understand it's the same thing of how they got the land during the unlawful Seminole Wars, Moultrie Creek, things of that nature. This rogue military that wasn't necessarily rogue, but we're just going to make sure we have a loophole by not actually ratifying these documents within Congress. Y'all go ahead and rope them off, get them out of there, and then we still going, you know, go ahead and bring our people on their land. So it's the same play that we're seeing throughout history. And like Chief Alligator said, at some point they got to reap what they sow, and we have to be the ones to actually, make sure that we provide that karma, that punishment.
Right. And like I put in the chat, we're giving consent for the benign neglect by participating. Basically, we're allowing them to do these things. So we have to wake up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll start here. Or by any other means authorized by law, provided, however, that no such action shall be taken until the department or agency concerned has advised the appropriate person or persons of the failure to comply with the requirement, and has, in the case of any action, terminating or refusing to grant or continue assistance because of failure to comply with a requirement imposed pursuant to this section. The head of the federal department or agency shall file with the committees of the House and Senate having legislative jurisdiction over the program or activity involved a full written report of the circumstances and the grounds of such action. No such action shall become effective until 30 days have elapsed after the filing of such report. So again, here at the bottom, just talking about procedure. But again, as we know, these procedures were not happening, especially in regards to our group of people. As I stated earlier, fighting in these wars, no benefits. Coming back, homes, towns, families destroyed, things of that nature.
Right.
Of course, this is all good in theory, but in practicality, this shit was not happening.
And if we even think about current day as well, like the Detroit water crisis, that's not even talked about at all online. That's not talked about. There are situations, I think, in Louisiana and Mississippi still having issues with water that are not even talked about on mainstream news. And it's the living conditions are deplorable. So I think that those are ways that they're forcing people out of their, off their land.
Great point. Great point. I'll start here on section 604. Nothing contained in this title shall be construed to authorize action under this title by any department or agency with respect to any employment practice of any employer, employment agency, or labor organization, except where a primary objective of the federal financial assistance is to provide employment. This title should be construed. Okay. So section 605 here, nothing in this title shall add or detract from any existing authority with respect to any program or activity under which federal financial assistance is extended by way of a contract of insurance or guarantee. So that is it for title 7, or title 6 rather. And Chief Quietwater, oh no, remind you good. I was going to talk about the message there, but we're good to go.
Okay.
So we have Title 7, Equal Employment Opportunity. So it starts here with definitions. Section 701. For the purpose of this title, the term person includes one or more individuals, labor unions, partnerships, associations, corporations, legal representatives, mutual companies, joint stock companies, trusts, unincorporated organizations, trustees in bankruptcy, or receivers. So again, people, we touched base on this a while back, just in regards to what an actual person is underneath, lawfully, in the legal definition of it. And it states here, a person basically is damn anything. We got legal representatives, associations, corporations, trustees, a trust, unincorporated organizations. So it's basically a legal fictitious person. What some people say, a straw man. So that's what an actual person is. So again, that just shows in itself that this government is not real, and that its only power is through its actual military occupation. Again, explained with earlier, Ku Klux Klan, that's just a segment. That's just a religious militia group that is a hired gun for this government. Again, to reap havoc on our group of people, whether it's, causing destruction to the family, killing of our families, taking of our lands, things of that nature. But here it just exactly explains what a person is, and that's not what a person is in when we're talking just about natural law. But underneath this government is clearly showing you who exactly a person is. So we got here the term employer means a person engaged in an industry affecting commerce who has 25 or more employees for each working day in each of 20 or more calendar weeks in the current or preceding calendar year, and any agent of such a person, but such term not include the United States, a corporation wholly owned by the government of the United States, an Indian tribe, or a state or political subdivision thereof, to a bona fide private membership club other than a labor organization, which is exempt from taxation under Section 501C of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954, provided that during the first year after the effective prescribed in Section A of Section 716, persons having fewer than 100 employees and their agents shall not be considered employers. And during the second year after such date, persons having fewer than 75 employees and their agents shall not be considered employers. And during the third year after such date, persons having fewer than 50 employees and their agents shall not be considered employers. Provided further that it shall be the policy of the United States to ensure equal employment opportunities for federal employees without discrimination because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And the president shall utilize his existing authority to effectuate this policy. So that was a lot said just within those definitions. But again, a lot of things that kind of just stood out to me that I pretty much picked up on here was again saying, the United States, a corporation wholly owned by the government of the United States. So again, just showing again that this is a fictitious government that is currently occupying the land militarily. Also showing how, what is this here? Private membership clubs basically are tax exempt. So those 501Cs. So now you see, any type of organizations, whether it be what is like a church of 501C as well. So these type of organizations that get propped up for our group in particular can never actually go against this government because they're getting those tax exempt benefits and things of that nature. So it's just a lot of things within these definitions that pretty much are going to explain exactly the predicament we're in as well. Anybody want to build on that?
Yeah, I like to say shout out to the chat, first of all. Everybody that's being active in the chat. Just a quick roll call. But we got the original Copperas. She's been steady like Freddie. PG Halito, Wilmore Reed, Thinking Space, Empress Vicky J, Tony Furlow, Thinking Space, Tanya Parker, Mr. C, Joshua Stewart, Attorney Furlow, Empress Awaken, Wilmore Reed, Platinum and Gold TV, Obsidian Copper Sun Tones, Chief Infinity Energy, and everybody else that's building in the chat. Shout out to y'all. What sticks out to me on that, if you scroll back up to that first paragraph, this just further proves when we say that the Confederacy is the de jure government on the land. When we look at section A under 701, we have to look at that as being make-believe. The term person includes labor unions, partnerships, associations, corporations, legal representation, legal representatives, mutual companies, joint stock companies, trusts, unincorporated organizations, trustees in bankruptcies, or receiver. That's make-believe. Then they go into employer. And if we go down to subsection 1, it says, if you could highlight that, Chief Biko, it says the United if not, okay, let's go up one sentence before 1, where it says, but such terms does not include. So basically, who this doesn't apply to. Let's look at who this equal employment opportunity doesn't apply to. It doesn't apply to the United States. It doesn't apply to a corporation wholly owned by the government of the United States. It doesn't apply to an Indian tribe. That's why we have to go back to our tribes and confederacies. This is an example of corporate fiction versus de jure. We're in the world of la la land right now.
Yeah.
So all of these are derivatives of the United States government. That's why you got now terms like people of color, and you got the gay organizations now. It'll never stop now. You know, now I take birth certificates. Why? Because it's all derivatives of a make-believe entity. So we're in outer space under this fictitious government when we need to get back to the land and come back up under tribes and confederacies.
Literally,
that's why I point that out.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent point made. Excellent point made. Like you said, shout out to all of the people in the chat. Definitely appreciate the engagement. Again, round of applause to you all for even, making it through another year of just being disciplined as well. Staying, consistent with the information, consistent with spreading the information as well. So definitely shout out to y'all. Did anybody want to pick up on section C, the term employment agency?
I'll do it.
Okay.
The term employment agency means any person regularly undertaking with or without compensation to procure employees for an employer or to procure for employees opportunities to work for an employer, and includes an agent of such a person, but shall not include any agency of the United States or an agency of a state or political subdivision of a state, except that such term shall include the United States Employment Service and the system of the state and local employment services receiving federal assistance. They just gave an out clause. They gave you the definition of what employment agency is, and then they told you who is not going to include the United States, any agency of a state, or political subdivision of a state, except that such term shall include the United States Employment Service. So it'll say United States Employment Service.
Wow. I mean, right in the same section, they just contradict. That's crazy.
Anything you want to say, Chief Pico?
Just showing again that that forked tongue, man, how they like to speak.
Right. Double talking.
But always giving themselves an escape clause. Again, we're talking about equal employment opportunity. And they're saying here that really don't apply to the United States or any agency of the state. So we ain't gotta hire y'all asses if we don't want to. That's what I'm seeing from it as well. So no, definitely a lot of double talk going on.
And then look how we take that in today's world. We'll get on with the federal government or the state, and then we'll think we're better than other people.
Right. Exactly.
And it's no disrespect, because we all got family members that have these different, but our thinking is
twisted.
Yeah.
I'll go to the next section where I'm at C. No, I'm at D.
D.
The term labor organization means a labor organization engaged in an industry affecting commerce and any agent of such an organization, and includes any organization of any kind, any agency or employee representation committee, group, association, or plan so engaged in which employees participate and which exists for the purpose, in whole or in part, of dealing with employers concerning grievances, labor disputes, wages, rates of pay, hours, or other terms or conditions of employment, and any conference, general committee, joint or system board, or joint council so engaged, which is subordinate to a national or international labor organization. So that's basically the definition of what they're going to consider to be a labor organization. And they're giving you all the corporate fiction entities that are going to fall up under that. Going back, when you, just a thought real quick, just a quick brain, so I got a lot of tabs open in my mind, but when you were talking about the Equal Opportunity Act, the one out that the federal government also gave was if you had 24 employees, the EEOC, you can't file a claim with them. Throw that in too, right? You had to have a minimum of 25 employees. And then the next year it went up. But what happens to those small businesses that have less than that?
Right.
You ain't got no grievance. So again, shout out to Dr. Carter G. Woodson. We all need to be reading these lawful documents and learning how to play this game. Where am I at? E?
E.
Anybody want to build on that right quick? The definition of labor organization, or we good?
I'm good. We're good.
Good to go.
Subsection E. A labor organization shall be deemed to be engaged in an industry affecting commerce if it maintains or operates a hiring hall or hiring office which procures employees for an employer or procures for employees opportunities to work for an employer, or the number of its members, or where it is a labor organization composed of other labor organizations or their representatives, if the aggregate number of the members of such other labor organization is 100 or more during the first year after the effective date prescribed in subsection A. Going back to what I just mentioned.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Of subsection 716B, 75 or more during the second year after such date, or 50 or more during the third year, or 25 or more thereafter in such labor organization. So you're not going to have organized labor if you're under 25, bottom line. Out of that. You don't want to have to deal with labor unions. Stay under 25 employees.
Yeah.
And now, what is that number now in today's? Is that how they separate the small business from large businesses? Isn't it a small business if it's less than 500? Is that how it correlates till today?
I think
that's on their stock market.
Okay.
This was started by organized gangsters. This was started by the mafia. The mafia were the ones that were doing the organized labor unions.
Got you. Okay.
Part of that. So they gave themselves outs.
Right.
As they were integrating people all over the world. Because remember, they're not talking specifically to the people, towns they burnt down and the people they
right.
They're saying, hey, anybody from around the world that comes here.
Okay.
People that stole our towns, stole our businesses, stole our inventions, stole our industries. This is how they're going to move forward.
Wow.
As world under this quote unquote great nation. That's promoted it when they integrated. This is going to be the Great Society. I'm sorry, that was what they called it, the Great Society.
Okay.
Really what they meant was all the niggas we was killing for the last 200 years, everybody around the world come here because we ain't gonna straighten, we ain't gonna give them no kind of justice after fucking them over. Just everybody come on in and let's just have a big old party. I'll do these last subsections here. Subsection 1 is the certified representative of employees under the provisions of the National Labor Relations Act as amended or the Railway Labor Act as amended. 2, although not certified, is a nation or international labor organization or a local labor organization recognized or acting as the representative of employees of an employer or employers engaged in the industry affecting commerce, or has chartered a local labor organization or subsidiary body which is representing or actively seeking to represent employees of employers within the meaning of paragraph 1 or 2, meaning you got to hit that threshold of 25 or more, or has been chartered by a labor organization representing or actively seeking to represent employees within the meaning of paragraph 1 or 2 as the local or subordinate body through which such employees may enjoy membership or become affiliated with such labor organization, or is a conference, general committee, joint or system board or joint council subordinate to a national or international labor organization, which includes a labor organization engaged in an industry affecting commerce within the meaning of any of the preceding paragraphs of this section. So what we're going through now is we're going through these, if we go back up, we're talking organized labor at this point, and they're protecting themselves. Small business is the engine of this of the way they set up their government. Small business is the engine of their whole economy. It depends on the number. You don't have to be big to get wealthy.
Right.
I think we get it wrong when we say, like you said, Fortune 500 companies. We think you got to get big in order to be successful as a business.
No.
That's not true. You see what I'm saying? And so this is an out for them. They're setting up the structure for their business owners that, hey, as long as you got less than 25 employees, you ain't got to deal with labor unions. You ain't got to deal with you ain't got to deal with EEOC, none of that shit.
Basically, deal with the government. You basically got to deal with the government. Just come over here and live the quote unquote American dream that you, like you stated, they just, killed and took from our group of people, but we're going to flood with, Europeans, Asians, Indians, come here, set up shop, run your small businesses, again, live out your dream. But again, while we benign and neglect the people that we took it from. But yeah, this is definitely a look into the structure of their system. Now it starts to make sense when you're looking at those mafia movies. You got the local dry cleaners. Everybody's in pretty much business with each other, doing in some type of way, and that mafia is the protecting arm, or acting as that security for these shops.
Correct. And they're actually cheating right now, just to throw one sidebar in. When you're in any downtown in any city that we live in, downtown in those hotels and all those fancy restaurants, when you go in those kitchens, or those people who clean up them rooms, when you stand in them hotels and them people can't speak a lick of English, understand what they're doing. Those people aren't citizens, so they're not paying taxes within the system. They are the new Negro. So you wonder why your kids aren't getting the opportunity to work at the Hyatt downtown. No, because the business owner would rather hire that illegal, pay him under the table, which means he don't have to pay his withholdings to Medicaid, the federal government, or the state. So it's all a big racket.
Yeah.
You got to understand it. I'll stop right there.
That's a great
Somebody
point.
else want to pick up, or y'all want me to pick up?
No, that's a great point. You want to pick up there, Chief Quietwater?
Yeah, where are we? I'm sorry.
F.
Okay. The term employee means an individual employed by an employer. The term commerce means trade, traffic, commerce, transportation, transmission, or communication among the several states, or between a state and any place outside thereof, or within the District of Columbia, or a possession of the United States, or between points in the same state, but through a point outside thereof. H, the term industry affecting commerce means any activity, business, or industry, commerce, or the free flow of commerce, and includes any activity or industry affecting commerce within the meaning of the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act of 1959. I, the term state includes a state of the United States, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, American Samoan, Guam, Wake Island, the Canal Zone, and Outer Continental Shelf lands defined in the Outer Continental Shelf Land Act. So basically, it's just going over the terms. Okay, exemption, section 702. This title shall not apply to any employer with respect to the employment of aliens outside of any state, or to a religious corporation, association, or society with respect to employment of individuals of a particular religion to perform work connected with carrying on by such corporations, associations, or societies of its religious activities, or to any educational institution with respect to employment of employees to perform work connected with educational activities of such institution.
Chief Quietwater, I'm sorry. All the people that's supposed to be our leaders.
Religious. In the religious sector, right.
Because they're exempt.
Right. And so that's why they do what they do. That's why they get up in front of us like they're actually doing something for the benefit of us, but really it's to benefit them, solely to benefit them, because they know they're exempt. Yeah, okay. So discrimination because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Section 703. A, it shall be an unlawful employment practice for an employer, one, to fail or refuse to hire or discharge any individual or otherwise to discriminate against any individual with respect to his compensation, terms, conditions, or privilege of employment because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Two, to limit, segregate, or classify his employees in any way which would deprive or tend to deprive any individual of employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect his status as an employee because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And then B, it shall be an unlawful employment practice for an employment agency to fail or refuse to refer to him for employment or otherwise to discriminate against any individual because of his race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, or to classify or refer for employment any individual on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. C,
One second,
anybody?
Chief.
Okay.
Can we go back up to that religious exemption real quick? We got to park right there and turn the music up and let the 12s play for a minute. Because we got to understand what was going on in the 60s. You had the Nation of Islam, which had popped up, and you got Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically telling you, if I'm a pastor of a church and I'm European, I don't have to hire nobody outside of my race. And it ain't nobody you gonna tell about that. Why? I'm exempt. So let's really unpeel this for a minute. You can sell God and you ain't got to worry about paying taxes and you ain't got to worry about answering to the federal government. Why is it that all of our leaders come under the guise of an exemption status through the 1964 Voting Rights Act? Can somebody in the chat, y'all got some questions, y'all help us out. Let's have a conversation, because what we're supposed to do with this generation is stand on the edge of the coin and look at heads and tails and call it what it is. Anybody in the chat got any questions on that or got any comments they want to say? And what about y'all, Chief Quietwater, Chief Biko? Can y'all see the trend when it comes to us? Why we get religious leaders thrown in our face?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's definitely a guise, and we participate. We participate in letting the preachers and the pastors and these organizations like Black Lives Matter handle our important things, and we look to them to lead us. So it's us who's participating and giving consent to it.
Correct. And like you said earlier too, Chief Quietwater, again, this is benefiting the individual and not the whole as a group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these exemptions. It's not like, you know, all we're gonna, lack of a better term, we're gonna use the word Black people are getting, you know, exempt statuses because they go to these churches. No, that's not the case. It's the actual people, actual preachers who have these churches. And it's just funny you even said that too, because I'm thinking of, you know, what's his name, Al Sharpton. What church does he have?
Right.
But again, this is the same individual or one of the individuals that they, you know, prop up for our group of people whenever, you know, tragedy has stricken, which is not, you know, just tragedy. It's a whole, you know, blatant war, whole blatant murder against our people, which is just, you know, I mean, it's right here. It's right here.
Can I say something else on this? Because again, we're in the 1960s. If they knew they were exempt and they were about to integrate, what's the chance that they were paid off by the federal government to promote Black to the people?
That's plausible.
Is the Black, hold on, let's have a conversation. We grown. Ain't none of us slow.
Man.
Ain't nobody slow in this. Is the Black Panther Party, is it an organization? Is it an organization?
Yes, it is, right? Yeah.
Is a religious entity an organization?
Yeah.
Yes.
what's the chance? Because we don't see the word Negro, color, black in any of this document, but we know the states were specifically Jim Crow in this group.
Correct.
What's the chance that they didn't get paid off by the federal government to promote black through the TV when they were doing their speech back then, to get us going with the black narrative, or to get us to go Muslim or Christian with it? And in reality, the federal
To
government,
keep us distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when you read the document, they never even wrote you in the damn document.
right, right.
And like you said,
Anybody in the chat want to build on this on what we're, because what we're saying is everybody's suspect at this point.
correct.
Because we're going somewhere. When we read this Civil Rights Act of 1968, the sheets is off the bed. We ain't got there yet. We still in the Voting Rights Act of 64. But goddamn, y'all.
Yeah. Wow. You just said it right there, though. Like you said,
Yeah.
who were the people in the room, first of all, during these discussions for this, these civil rights acts? It was these preachers and religious leaders, right? So if we're at the table, we're contracting, okay, we'll make sure we can't get you, everything you want regarding your people, but we can get you what you want.
Right, right.
Look, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal.
Yeah.
I'll make sure you get exempt status. Your family be set for life. We'll have highways, roads. Every state will have a street named after you.
Every state, all
We'll have
50.
highways, everything. We'll have monuments. We'll have the whole
Right.
thing. You'll always be looked up. You'll always be looked at in history in a positive light, even though your people really ain't really fucking with you all the way like that during this time. It's y'all, y'all people. But we'll make sure everything is set up like that. And like you said, shake on it, deal. Because how does this happen multiple times? Like you said, we had 1957, which is there to study this whole, Jim Crow discrimination, basically military occupation is to study that. Then we have this 1964 act, have a 1965 one, which is the voting one. Then we have the 1968, and none of them are addressed for people. Okay, now how many meetings you got to go to not notice that shit?
Exactly.
How many meetings you have to be at the table to not notice that your group is not being talked about within these documents? But they
throw the Congressional Black Caucus in there too.
And what do we say in the steps? We say, ask the hard question, regardless of your belief system. We're saying, ask the leader of that nonprofit organization, what's your stance on reparation? No support, no donations.
Right.
So what we're saying is, why every time it's something for us, why is it an organization? Why is it never a tribe? Why are you never talking tribe talk? Why are you never talking treaty talk? Why are you always getting emotional and yelling and hollering and then passing the basket and trying to get donate? No, on some real shit. Let's have a conversation. It's the same play.
Yeah.
All of them keep coming at this nonprofit angle and, donate. Fuck, I got to donate for.
Aren't you getting federally funded?
Right, right.
Aren't you getting?
And then, with what's going on with, the killings, our young people, young Black boys, more specifically. And then you have these vultures that come in like the Ben Crumps and, the Tamika Mallory's and things like that, all under the guise of we're here to help, but how are you here to help? For us to donate to your cause, for you to just sit back and just wait for it to happen again, and you show up for the photo ops, the interviews on CNN and things of that nature. So
let's go a little deeper on that since we building, because shout out to the chat. They vibing with us. Let's go a little deeper. Let's go back to 2020. Anybody in the chat, did you ever hear of Antifa before 2020? So all of a sudden George Floyd gets killed. Black Lives Matter didn't exist until Mike Brown.
Yeah.
We didn't create it.
Right.
They generated millions of dollars in 2020 and 2021. And now they're openly telling you, after doing an audit on their books, houses were bought and all kind of shit. So basically they sucked your energy. You were lynched in front of the world, and then they sucked the donations that was supposed to go to that group of people, they created a shell organization to get the money. And now here you are a year and a half later looking around. You ain't heard shit about Antifa since then.
Right.
It was a diversion group.
Yeah.
And if
Exactly.
we were in the streets at first, or let me say it correctly, our youth was in the streets at first. And then they put Black Lives Matter activists, Europeans, Antifa, made up group during the pandemic. They put them in the street, and then Negroes got out of the street. They took over the guys. They ate your soul. You got lynched. But they took the movement and took the money. Now here you are a year and a half later in the same damn government, never gave you a George Floyd Act, never even passed a bill to study your fake ass reparations, but they giving hundreds of thousands, no, millions of dollars to the Afghanistan refugees, to the goddamn Ukrainian people, illegal immigrants coming in this bitch from all over the world. They picking them in housing free of charge. Game just got ran on us, y'all.
Yeah.
Big time.
And it's the same game.
Yeah, it don't change. That's the disgusting part for us, is the fact that it's the same game and we fall for it every single time. And they don't change up. That's why it's worked.
Yeah.
And it's such an elementary play. Go put a bunch of Europeans in a van, dress them in black, make up a name, call them Antifa. Okay, drop them off in every major city where these Negroes at, and let them plant bricks out there. And then Negroes got scared, like, oh, they giving us stuff to test stuff up. At the end of the day, you walked away with no resources and no laws passed, but you watched the lynching of George Floyd. Come on, y'all. This is called pimping us, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the play of how they doing it. Again, persons, every goddamn thing under that you can imagine. Organizations, every goddamn thing you can imagine. We showing you who has exempt status. We showing you who these rules apply to. Showing you who these rules don't apply to. Again, United States. Corporations wholly owned by the government of the United States and Indian tribes. So we're showing you how to get up out of here. But yeah, we're gonna keep having these puppets run out in front of you every time we kill one of y'all.
And who comes out every time we get out of line? We can all say it at one time. Everybody in the chat. Who do they put in front of you on TV when you niggas get way out of line?
Oh, yeah.
Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Come on. We all know it. We tired of seeing the play. If you get lynched on TV, who they gonna put in front of the camera to represent us? Come on, y'all. Everybody in the chat. Who is it? Ben Crump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, we didn't have so many versions of Al Sharpton, boy. He done went through Fat Al, Skinny Al. Like, he done seen all kind of Al, Pimp Al, like all. He done reinvented himself so many damn times. He like, at this point, y'all, I may need to bleach.
He tired himself. Like, y'all didn't use me up.
What about the preacher that they had with the what was the little fake movement he tried to get off the ground and niggas wasn't feeling it last year? He hunchback, the preacher that was hunchback with the cane. Come on, got the slick back, got the
sound like Al.
No, he's heavy set. He's a heavy set dude. The Poor People Campaign, that cat.
Okay.
Man, yeah, man, and it's no disrespect, but I'm saying we gotta stand on the edge of the coin and look at the play, bro. Every time we get lynched on TV, here come Ben Crump.
Oh yeah.
Every time we get in the streets, here come Al Sharpton, here come that preacher that was trying to push the Poor People's Campaign. Once again, he ain't representing you. He coming under the guise of an exempt status, and he want to represent for all the people. Shit played out, man. Shit over. I'm sorry. Let me. Fuck it, it's the first. I don't give a damn.
We seen what all the people gets us, not a goddamn thing. It's about time we be specific for our people, by our people. And shit, just be selfish. You gotta take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree.
Y'all want to do one more section? I'm on one tonight, man. I'm just
we left off at.
I'm glad the chat off the chain. And Copper Empress said he's a civil attorney and not a criminal. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. It's bad when we see somebody get killed and everybody head hang down. As soon as we see Crump get on TV, like, oh, here we go. We ain't got no faith in him.
At all.
No, it's just a payout.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a payout.
Mm-hmm. I think we were
We advanced a bunch of this worksheet.
To exclude, let me see. B, I think I left off at,
Okay.
no, actually, C. I think, yeah. It shall be an unlawful employment practice for a labor organization to exclude or to expel from its membership or otherwise to discriminate against any individual because of his race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, to limit, segregate, or classify its membership, or to classify or fail or refuse to refer for employment any individual in any way which would deprive or tend to deprive any individual of employment opportunities, or would limit such employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect his status as an employee or as an applicant for employment because of such individual race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Or 3, to cause or attempt to cause an employer to discriminate against any individual in violation of this section. And then we have D, it shall be an unlawful employment practice for an employer, labor organization, or joint labor management committee controlling apprenticeship or other training or retraining, including on-the-job training programs, to discriminate against any individuals because of his race, color, religion, sex, or national origin in admission to or employment in any program established to provide apprenticeship or other training. Okay, E, notwithstanding any other provision of this title, 1, it shall not be unlawful employment practice for an employer to hire or employ employees for an employment agency to classify or refer for employment any individual for labor organization to classify its members or to classify or refer for employment any individual or for an employer, labor organization, or joint labor management committee controlling apprenticeship or other training or retraining programs to admit or employ any individual in any such program on the basis of his religion, sex, or national origin. In those certain instances where religion, sex, or national origin is a bona fide occupational qualification, reasonably necessary to the normal operation of the particular business or enterprise. And 2, it shall not be an unlawful employment practice for a school, college, university, or other educational institution or institution of learning to hire and employ employees of a particular religion if the school, college, university, or other educational institution or institution of learning is in whole or substantial part owned, supported, controlled, or managed by a particular religion or by a particular religious corporation, association, or society, or if the curriculum of such school, college, university, or other educational institution or institution of learning is directed towards the propagation of a particular religion. So anybody want to comment on any of that? It's kind of straightforward.
I'm thinking Jews all the way. You can't go to a Jewish synagogue. If you build something for under this, if you're going to go corporate fiction style, if you're going to go corporate fiction style, all you got to do is build it under the guise of a religion. And you can discriminate and say,
right,
can come to this school, or your curriculum is strictly based off this particular religious group. So once again, when you look at our group, we don't have anything that we can exclusive on.
Right. And then when we do like the Morehouse and the Spelman, that's supposed to be, they have Europeans running their admissions office, So
That's how they're able to get that out. That's the only thing that jump out to me is the Jews, because they can isolate in their make-believe world, right? They don't have to debate the Hebrew Israelites when it comes to, the whole 12 tribes of Judah. They don't have to do that. Why? Because we got our own thing going on over here.
Yeah.
And we can discriminate, and we can only hire Jewish people. Native Americans, which are not they're not us, the Native American, the Mongoloids, they can be specific and only deal with their people.
Yeah.
Only group of people that can't be specific.
Yeah, it's backwards. Everybody else does it, but it's like, oh, a bad thing when, our group tries to do it. Yeah, we gotta get in the line with just nature, y'all, with everybody else. It's plain and simple. Anything in the chat? Any questions in the chat? I know we started a little late today, y'all, but shoot, definitely appreciate y'all being engaged, hopping on there. Definitely love the participation. But yeah, any questions? Shoot, that we went over. Because yeah, we all reading these documents together. But yeah, we as we see, it's a lot of information in here that explains a lot, especially during that time.
Right.
Yeah, great build tonight. We got 45 in the building. We just hit our hour mark. We did start a little late. Welcome to the new fiscal year. It's not necessarily a new year, but it is a new fiscal year. Again, the chat was vibing with us tonight. Look forward to we'll do this again next Sunday, and we'll be doing that recap this Wednesday. So follow along with us as we walk down this paper trail, and just put everybody on the scale and weigh them accordingly. We got us. Hell, I almost want to. You want me to say what I want to say?
Oh yeah, man. We don't no punches.
Yeah, I almost want to start selling God and paying no tax. If y'all niggas what they call it, seminary school. Let me go to seminary.
Shit, put on the cloth. Put on the cloth. You already got it around your put on the cloth for real, man. You've been wanting to say it.
Look, he giving soft disclosures.
Exactly. It comes just as is too. All you rocking is the cloth. Ain't no damn gown. You ain't taking off the cap. Keeping the golds in. We coming straight like it is, straight up the middle. No, for real.
Woo! In the name of Jesus.
Yeah.
That is